Hey guys, this is Senti Reads, and as you can see by the video title, today I'll be talking about why Amberlynn Reid will never publish a poetry book. As many of you girls know, Amberlynn said she was interested in publishing a poetry book on one of her recent live streams.
I am thinking about publishing a poetry book under a pen name.
I think we all understand why Amberlynn will never publish a book. Not only is the quality of her writing poor, to say the absolute least, but she also never follows through on any of her goals. I mean, how many diets have we seen her quit? No, I'm serious. Surely some reaction channel out there has counted and has a definitive number of how many times she's quit a diet on camera. How many empty journals does Amberlynn have laying around? Every time we see her read a poem, it's from her phone. So I don't even really believe that she's an avid writer like she claims. We all know that Amberlynn is never going to be able to publish a book, but I'm here to break down exactly why it'll never happen. Before I get started, I want to put out a disclaimer that I have never published a book. I do, however, have aspirations of being a published author one day, and I'm working on multiple novels right now. I've done a lot of research into the publishing process, and I follow a lot of published authors on YouTube who go through their process of how they had their books published. So even though I've never published, I do believe that I know what I'm talking about. If I get anything wrong, please don't hesitate to correct me in the comments below, because unlike Amberlynn, I can take constructive criticism. Anyway, let's jump into the steps of publishing a book. I have broken it down into 7 steps, so let's jump right in with step 1. Obviously, step 1 is going to be write the book. In this case, Amberlynn wants to write a poetry book. And I don't personally read poetry, but Google says the average poetry book contains 70 to 100 poems, which is way more than what I was expecting. But Amberlynn mentioned Gabby Hanna's poetry book earlier in the stream. She mentioned wanting to write a book, so I'm going to be using Gabby Hanna as an example throughout this video. For context, Gabby Hanna's first poetry book, Adultolescence, has over 200 poems in it. And although some of those poems are short, not all of them are. So we're looking at a good number of poems here. And I don't write poetry, so I don't realistically know how long it would take to write 70 poems. But I imagine it could take months or even years to be able to get to that number. The poetry on Amberlynn's Wattpad account does not count in that 70 number at all, because a traditional publisher is unlikely to publish something that has already been posted online. But I'm getting ahead of myself with traditional or self-publishing. Let's instead go to step 2. Step 2, edit the book. Although Amberlynn says that her first draft is her final draft, that really shouldn't be the case for any serious writer. Your first thought is rarely your best thought, and Amberlynn admits that some of her poems took her only a minute to write.
I wrote it literally, I even said in the poem, written in a minute. Here I am sitting. I wrote that poem literally in like a minute and a half. Words just come out of me sometimes. I don't know why, I don't know how, but they do. I just have this very amazing gift, and it's with words on paper, or clearly I did that one on my phone with my thumbs, but,
As you've all seen in Scotty and Hello Darling, Amber's first drafts are not high quality. They're really bad, full of errors and mistakes. They're just not publishable at the first draft quality, so she's gonna have to put in some mileage there in the editing department. I know I said I wouldn't review her poems, but let me throw you some of my favorite lines to show you why a first draft should never be a final draft. Free like a bird, maybe a pigeon. Like a monster truck in the nightlife. Creamy cheeses is a shimmer to an outlet. Misguided romance ghosts have been placed in my path. The strength in my empathetic tune is like a muscle man carrying the Empire State Building.
but, writing is a really big passion of mine.
Did any of that make sense to any of you? Because if it did, please seek medical attention, because you're probably having a stroke or you're on a large amount of drugs and you might drop dead. Honestly, reading these lines made me feel like I'm in some kind of alternate reality, because none of them make any kind of comprehensible sense. I'm going to try not to harp too much about her poetry, because as I said, I'm not reviewing it, but you can see the quality is not there, so she's going to need to edit this. If you're self-publishing, then you'll need to hire an editor before your work is ready to be published. It's not likely that you yourself have the skills to fully edit your book the way it needs to be for publication quality. Honestly, most people hire an editor. It's not a shameful thing. Again, I don't write poetry, so I don't know exactly what this would cost for a poetry book, but quotes for like a 80,000 word fiction novel are anywhere from $800 to $1,000 for a copy edit. So I'd imagine that it would cost Amberlynn at least $300 or $500 to have her book edited by a reputable professional, which is not a small amount. That's nothing to sneeze at there. If she's going to publish traditionally, then the publishing house would cover that cost for her, which leads us into step 3. Step 3. Decide if you are self-publishing or traditionally publishing. Traditional publishing refers to going through a publishing house like Simon & Schuster, which is the publisher who put out Gabby Hanna's book. This would require Amberlynn to query a literary agent to sell the book to a publisher for her. For that, Amberlynn would need to write a query letter, which would have a short bio about herself, a pitch for the book, and a few sample poems depending on what the agent requests. Gabby Hanna almost certainly did not have to do this step because the publisher likely reached out to her directly because of her large following. Even after all of her recent scandals, she still has like 5 million subscribers on her YouTube account. So she had a big enough following that the publisher probably directly contacted her with a book deal, and Amberlynn is in for a huge rude awakening because that is not going to be the case for her.
And she told me that it would be the easiest thing in the world for me to get that published because it was so well written. And
she doesn't have a large enough following, and even a cursory amount of research into her would show that most of her audience hates her. So a publisher is not likely to pick up her book, get slammed with negative reviews, and probably not make their money back. So she's not going to get an automatic publishing deal. And the quality of her work is so poor that she's also unlikely to get a literary agent. This leads us to the self-publishing route. And I want to be clear here that people don't self-publish books just because they could not get a traditional literary deal. There are many reasons somebody would choose self-publishing instead. Whether it be that they're writing a genre that's not selling right now in traditional publishing, or they want more creative control, there's a lot of reasons why somebody would choose to self-publish other than just not being able to get a literary agent for traditional publishing. There are many websites that make self-publishing possible, but I think most people would probably be familiar with Amazon's Kindle service, and anyone can publish a book at any time using these services, including Amberlynn, but I'm about to tell you why that's not going to happen. And the rest of this list will follow the self-publishing process because, as I said, Amberlynn's not getting a traditional book deal. Step 4, book formatting. Once your manuscript has been edited to its final product, you're going to need to be able to format it so it'll look right on the page. You can't just upload a Word document or screenshot your phone's Notes app and call it a day. There's a lot more work that goes into it than that. And there are many different softwares out there for you if you want to learn to format your own book. But let's be real, Amberlynn is not going to sit down and learn how to do that. She's going to have to pay someone to do it for her, and it'll probably cost a couple $100. Maybe $200 or $300, I'm not fully sure, but she's not going to do that herself. Step 5, book cover. Once the book has been formatted, you're going to know your word count, and you're going to know your page count, more importantly. And this is important because if you're printing physical books, you're going to need to know the page count, so you'll know the width of the spine of the book. So whoever is designing your cover can properly design the wrap. So let's not even entertain the idea that Amberlynn can create her own book cover. Most authors can't. Most people hire someone. That's totally fine. There's no shame in hiring someone to do your cover art. It's going to turn out way better if you hire a professional. But she's going to have to hire a professional. And that can get pretty pricey because you need more than just a front cover. There's also the back cover of the book. As I mentioned, the spine if you're printing a physical book. Inside book flaps if you're printing a physical book. And this could easily cost $300 or more to your cost. So you're already getting up there in cost between the editing, the formatting, the book cover. It requires a lot of money to self-publish a book properly. Step 6, upload the book to whatever service you'll be using. With the final product in hand, you've got your formatting, you've got your book, you've got everything ready to go. You need to figure out where you're going to be publishing through. There are multiple choices, but as I said, I believe the most common service I've seen around is Amazon. So Amberlynn is going to need to make sure her files are all in the right format and check the ebook multiple times once she's uploaded it to make sure everything transferred correctly and there's no wonkiness on the page, everything formatted right. And ideally, she would look through every single page, but let's be real, she's not going to do that. She can also use Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing to print physical copies of her book on demand if people order the physical book. But if she's going to go through this route, she's going to have to upload all of her materials to that site and order a proof copy to ensure the formatting looks right. So that means they're going to print a physical copy of the book and mail it to you so that you can check it and make sure the spine is aligned, the title printed right, the book doesn't cut off in weird spots on the pages. Just you have to flip through and make sure everything looks right. And if it's not right, you have to re-upload your files. Well, you have to fix whatever's wrong first, re-upload your files, and get a second proof copy. And some people can go through multiple proof copies before everything is exactly the way they like it. And it isn't free to have a proof copy sent to you. I think it's something like $20 every time you get one. Again, I don't know, but it's not free. And it also takes time because you have to wait for each copy to arrive for your review. And let's all be real, Amberlynn is not patient enough to do that. Step 7, market the book. With the book published, now it's time to market it. Well, I mean, ideally you would have been marketing the book for weeks or even months before it's released, but let's leave it as step 7 to keep things simple. Amberlynn said she wants to publish under a pen name, which she admitted herself will hinder sales, but she doesn't understand that this is not going to work out for her. It's fine and all. She wants to use the pen name to keep her work unbiased. People won't read it and just not like it because it's her. But I don't think Amberlynn understands how hard it is to sell a book. According to Google, there's something like 1,600 books a day published on Kindle. In a day. Let that sink in. 1,600 books a day. Imagine how easy it is for a book to get totally lost in that slush pile unless you do something to make it stand out. If Amberlynn isn't going to use her YouTube platform to sell the book and she's not going to put her name on it, then she's going to need to do some serious marketing. She'll need to put out Facebook and Instagram ads, reach out to booktubers for reviews, etc. There's so much that goes into a marketing plan. She's going to have to put together an email list. There's a lot she'll have to do. It's a ton of work to properly market a book. Amberlynn clearly hasn't shown that she's the most business-savvy individual, so I don't think things are going to go well in the marketing department. So, with our steps covered, let's review why Amberlynn is never going to publish a book. Assuming Amberlynn goes the self-publishing route, because as I said, she's not going to be able to get a traditional publishing deal, she's going to need at least $1,000 minimum to publish the book properly. Some people just put up their book, they just write the book and put up the book, and let me tell you, it is abundantly obvious to anybody who reads it that that is what you did. You can't do that. Blatantly, you can't do that. You can't put up a product that you've put no work into and expect people to give you money for it. And so let's say Amberlynn's paid $1,000. Now she has to market the book, which could easily bring that cost up to $2,000, if not more. And she's not likely to see that much of a return on her investment if she uses a pen name because people aren't going to know that's her. And I doubt her marketing efforts are going to be that successful. Let's be real. For most people, it's not. And I'm not trying to crush anyone's dreams here, but publishing is hard work and it takes effort and dedication. You have to edit your book, which Amberlynn has shown she's not willing to do. You have to put in the work to find professionals who will help you make the best product you can make. And Amberlynn also is not going to do that. She's not going to do that. When was the last time Amberlynn showed us any motivation to do anything well in her life? It speaks for herself. It speaks for itself if you just watch her videos. She shows you abundantly why she will never be able to accomplish this goal. And I know I am ending this on a pretty negative note here, but if you're looking to publish a book, I fully believe you can do it if you put the effort and dedication in. Anybody can do it if they put in the work and have a little bit of money. Let's be real. You do have to put some money into this process, but I believe in you guys, and I hope if you're hoping to publish that you will one day. That's it for this one, girls. I'll see you in the next video.